Health supplements and functional foods, legal developments, ingredient news, education, inspiration, entertainment, insider in the afternoon.
Hey everybody, Todd Runestad here, Insider in the Afternoon. Expo West just happened. I'm just noshing on, all kinds of supplements here. We're going to have a good day talking about supplements. We have a special crew of insiders today. We've got Duffy Hayes. We've got Steve O. Myers. We've got Fran Schoenwetter. Just the brain trust is in the house. How are we, people?
Great.
Woo. Hey, so, Expo just happened, in-person event just happened. I'm like still feeling goosebumps. How are you guys feeling? Was that show just all of it or what?
It was massive.
Amazing.
It was massive, but more manageable than the past.
It was kind of like 2014 numbers. Like there was like 60,000 instead of like the 85 that it was like the last time,
I felt packed.
It's hard to imagine that 88,000 number that we had in 2019. It's felt packed. I'm with you, Steve.
I mean, the downstairs hallway was like a mosh pit trying to get through. It was like a huge concert where you're on the floor. It's crazy.
What's
the concert? You could find a chair. You could find a chair.
Yeah, like the new product halls that first day. That was insane.
Shoulder to shoulder.
And people were happy, though. That's the big thing. I think people were so happy to be out there in community and be out together, just, be three-dimensional and be able to have those conversations and some of those serendipitous things that happen. We're going to talk about some of the surprise things that we saw, maybe not surprise things that were reaffirmed here, but just some really surprising conversations. There's nothing more invigorating than that, although I do feel a little bit tired now.
What was that? Let's talk about that, because that's one of those things that just like those kismet-y moments. Like, what's one of those serendipitous moments when you ran into someone, not from like visiting a booth. Oh, I'm going to go see Shaheen at Sabinsa. Speaking of which, we're going to talk to Shaheen. He's no longer with Sabinsa. He's at BGG later on in the show. But what about that, kids? What about anyone have like a cool moment where you're just like, hey, you run into someone?
Totally. I was at a street corner. This would never happen if I wasn't at Expo. I was at Catella and Harbor waiting for the light. And I looked at a guy's badge. He was wearing his badge. And it was the name of somebody I knew from, I'm not going to say how many years ago, but a really long time ago when I ran a natural food store on Martha's Vineyard. And I said, hey, I know someone with that name. He goes, yeah, that's my dad. who is the owner of the Legacy grocer chain on Martha's Vineyard. And so this Steve Bernier Jr., because he'd be happy I said his name, he is the sales and business development leader for a hemp company now, an industrial hemp company. So we can talk more about that at another time when we need those kinds of contacts. But that was like, wait a minute, I knew you when you were like a kid. It was crazy. And it just took me completely back to my time as a retailer in Massachusetts. And it was fantastic. And that would never happen if I wasn't at a physical show.
And so it didn't occur to you that maybe he was just aging well?
Yeah. He
Benjamin Button.
Collagen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a cool moment like when I saw Roy Upton, from American Herbal Pharmacopoeia, and it was just like, hey, and I've seen him in Zoom calls on Zoomy things, over the last couple of years, but just to like see each other and just like the twinkle in his eye and like we hugged and it's like, hey man, what's up? How was the pandemic? I thought it was just so great.
So I had a long flight in from Washington, D.C. on Monday, and I had to change a plane in Denver. So, of course, I was thinking, I might have one of my New Hope colleagues on the flight with me. But as I walk down the aisle, and now of course everyone's pushing to get on the plane, the overhead space is waning, and I'm trying to find a place for my travel guitar that I bring now ever since last Supply Side West Insider in the Afternoon. I bring it with me all the time. And then I said, is that Asa Waldstein? But he had a mask on, and I wasn't sure how to make that question not uncomfortable. So I just went to my seat and kept looking to see if he took his mask off. So Asa, if you were on the flight from Denver to Orange County in the middle of the day on Monday, let me know.
I bet he was.
Probably.
I think it was.
And he tunes into the show. Aesop.
I know. You gotta let us know.
Oh my God. Steve, I can't believe you just didn't, take a risk and potentially embarrass yourself. Come on.
I know. I was focused on overhead bin space, really. So.
And his guitar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and hey, Stephen Duffy, we got to see Stephen Duffy, Todd.
Yeah.
We live in different states, and we all got to see each other.
That's true. You know what's really funny? So, Duffy, I always see you, and you're always on this angle. And, and then the first time I saw you live, and it was like a different. I didn't even recognize you. It was so funny. But plus you were wearing a mask, so it was completely out of context. That was really funny because I've known you for months because what have you been working here for like a year or so?
A year and a half, yeah.
Yeah, all during the pandemic, and so we were just like Zoom friends, and then to actually see.
Yeah. Well, the show was really about post-pandemic getting together and being in physical space with somebody. And you can tell one of the things I noticed, because it was my first expo, and obviously I don't really have a frame of reference, was just the amount of business activity and people making connections. And I mean, it was palpable and exciting to be around.
Yeah, I had a great time at the airport. I was getting yanked around by the airline. And so we were on standby, and I ended up spending a couple hours at John Wayne Airport. But I ran into Todd Norton from Ocker. I ran into Dan Lifton at Quality of Life and Maypro. Ran into Jim Tonkin, and I was like, all right, I'm still having my show experience, So
it's great to have the show back. Yeah,
Big fat
exactly.
community.
Yeah, it really is. Hey, so one of the things I want to chime in about, there's the personalized aspect, the in-person, the juice of life, the marrow, if you will, and another, and another juicy gummy to be named later. I just put out a little piece of content about 9 supplement trends that we found at Expo West, and let's all get in on that. And Charlie, run that. And so I think everyone's going to disappear except for me and the screen here. And so, if you could see that, one of the big trends is gummies. Now, 2019, according to Nutrition Business Journal, that was the tipping point year when all of a sudden non-pill formats or now sell more than pills, tablets, and capsules. Pretty big moment. Just in supplements, just sort of candy-ceuticals are kind of a thing right now. And so this was one brand that I thought was really cool because Cooley, it's moringa. Now, moringa has been one of those ingredients. I first saw it Supply Side West, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And it was from the Dead Sea in Israel that they were growing it there. And it always kind of had a, I don't know, funky taste. But with the gummies, they have solved that sort of taste issue. What do you guys have to say about the whole non-pill?
Yeah. Are we off camera? I won't hold up a product if we are, but that taste. I mean, it does depend on the product. I did taste a gummy product that was a full multi that had B vitamins in it. So there are some masking issues that still need to be solved because that didn't taste so great. But one of the things I think is super interesting about the product that you've featured here in your gallery is that intersection between the beneficial ingredient, the format, and organic, the whole sourcing story. Right. So it kind of goes deeper too. There's more and more of those intersections around not only what's in it from the benefit standpoint for supplements, but hey, where's it coming from? And how's that produced? And I feel like it's really bubbling up now in supplements. Obviously it's been there moving face forward in food, but I think we're starting to see it in supplements. And because of gummies, it gives us a chance, I think, to like look at that intersection of, you know, what you chew and where it comes from.
Yeah, you know, I saw a lot of gelatin-free gummies, so now they're using pectin, so they're getting away from horse lips or wherever it is that gelatin comes from. Horse, the hoof, I don't know. So that's another, you know, definite notable point. What do you guys think of the whole, like, you always hear the rap on gummies like, oh, it's sugar, but it's only like 1 or 2 grams or milligrams per gummy, which doesn't really seem like that much. Like, is that a thing?
I mean, it's not that much if you're only taking a couple. If you took all of, I mean, Todd, we know you take copious amounts of supplements, right? If all of those were in a gummy and you had to get the therapeutic dosage of certain nutrients, I mean, you could end up taking a lot of gummies. I mean, I don't know. That might be too much pectin. You might turn into a jar of jam.
Is that going to give me a better pectoral muscle? Is that what the pectin does?
Nope. I don't think we can claim that under Deshay. So, you know,
that is not a compliant claim.
So, I mean, each one of these mushroom gummies has 2 grams, you know, which is on the high side, but I don't know. I'm kind of going with Mary Poppins, you know, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. So
well, I agree. Hey, Todd, what about put the formulator hat on there, because there are other sweetener technologies, you know, like I checked out Cargill's Sweet plus Clear Flow sweetening stevia enhancing technology, which was clean, made through fermentation, but clean tasting and a good sweetening enhancer. And that could be used in gummies so you don't have added sugar. So there are some other compatible sweetening tactics that can be used in gummies too. They just require a little more innovation and investment by the brands.
Yeah.
I will say Duffy and I have little kids, right? And so from my experience, kids are very taste specific. So if I start them off the gummy with this sweetener and try to give them a different gummy, maybe it was on sale that week, or I got a free sample at a trade show, they'll notice it and they may or may not like it. And also if a gram of sugar, a gram or 2 helps the medicine go down, so to speak, I'll take all the help I can get at bedtime.
Okay, Mary Poppins.
Yeah. All right. So we only got like 3 minutes left, and I got 8 more trends. So let's bank this. Here's just more on the non-pill format. This was really interesting because here you have like D3 and K2, which is the ingredient combo of the year. You know, D3 really came out during COVID as being a useful ingredient, and then you really kind of need that K2, because if you load up on a lot of D3, you can potentially get some soft tissue calcification. So K2, which is great because K2 has been an ingredient that has been waiting to kind of find its moment. And so maybe it's found its partner in K2. All right, we're going to move on that. So, and then speaking of mushrooms, here, this is one thing. It's like kind of shrooms are I mean, CBD has shifted. And so now Plant People was it was a CBD brand. Now they're getting into mushrooms, which is kind of like the next thing in the sort of street drug sort of world. But then there's like Weaned, women's wellness that started out as CBD, and now it's kind of like
go to your next slide, Todd.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness, there it is.
Yeah, serendipity.
So they there they are with collagen, with glow up. So, capitalizing on the collagen trend, so that's pretty good. New immunity ingredients. This is Bayer. Remember Bayer? Like, where are they? Well, they have this new ingredient, Benacaros. It's this upcycled carrot pomace. POMACE, pomace.
You just said that. You just said the U word, Todd. The upcycle word.
Upcycle, big word.
Upcycle, big deal. And seeing more of that. So I know we got a lot to cover, but I just want to say upcycling, big thing. Saw it. Talked to some upcycling companies, brands.
Yeah. And then so if you didn't have nutritional shots but regular shots, you would up chuck. But not on this. Core was really good, and they do good stuff with the plastic, 100% post-consumer. New ingredient. I ran into this guy. I hooked up with Grant. I forget his name. Sorry. On LinkedIn, and he's an Aussie, and the Kakadu plum, the highest density of vitamin C on the planet. Each shot has the equivalent of 4 oranges. So
Wait, so is this like the shot competitor to, the pill kick-ass immune? I mean, I know it's the category.
Yeah.
Different format. Kick.
Right. And then so now just on CBD, we've got more with the minor cannabinoids going on. And then I think the last thing the second last thing we'll talk about is nootropics, mood. I guess people are getting a little moody at this stage of the pandemic, right? So
Lots of mood.
right.
So much mood.
And then the last thing I just wanted to talk about was this Gen Z water, but look at it. Flavorless transparent liquid. Oh my God. I guess if you want an eye into Gen Z, there you have it.
For. Right.
So
Sorry, I hate to laugh at a brand, but it's witty, but
Like sanitation engineer.
but Gen Z, they're all about the carry your own bottle, refill your bottle. So
right. But I just love how, I can't wait to have my next conversation with my daughter and ask her about flavorless transparent liquid and see what she says. Hey, kids, thanks for joining us. I know we just had to pack everything in. We could talk for 4 or 5 days, just like we're back at Expo, but we're here online and we have to depart. We're going to move on to the Todd cast right now, where I know I brought up Shaheen Majeed, and we ran into him, and he just took over the reins of the BGG. And so let's tune into that and find out what our friend Shaheen is up to in astaxanthin land. Charlie, roll him. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Toddcast here. We got a special guest today. We have a good old friend of mine, Shaheen Majeed. Now, Shaheen, he has been with Sabinsa, family run company. I met him, I don't know, at least 10 years ago when you were the marketing director, and then you made it up to the president of Sabinsa worldwide, and now you have taken on a new job with BGG, a Chinese-based company, but you're going to be the CEO of the North Americas. Shaheen, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Todd. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. It's good to see you again too. We ran into each other at Supply Side West in a hotel lobby and got to kvetch and hug there. That was awesome. And so when I first met you, it was at the NBJ's summit, and it was during the regatta. It was on a boat ride, and our mutual friend Ilan Sudberg, he told me, he's like, Todd, you got to do something on like leaders under age 30. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's a good idea. Yeah, we always want to like talk about like next generation leaders. And he's like, yeah, and that's the guy right there you need to talk to. And so we met on the boat, and we hung out and we had a good time. So I want to start off this interview with you at let's just jump into the deep end of the pool and let's talk about leadership. So what is this thing called leadership to you?
Leadership is a step-by-step process where you break down yourself first. You examine yourself and your qualities. If you're a good listener, be a great listener to the people around you. If you're a good athlete, make sure you run your people the same way to get the best out of them. There's all these kinds of antidotes, but I think communication, listening, striving for the best, wanting the best for others, putting that first. Yeah, I think those are some great qualities of a leader. And I'm sure there are plenty of other things. But those are just a few that have really helped me along in my life, my path, and my career.
That's great. That's good information for other C-level people who are out there tuning in right now. I appreciate that. And so when you were at Sabinsa, one of the things was not only were you leading the company, but you have also developed yourself into an industry thought leader. You did a lot of work with, curcumin is obviously a big ingredient for Sabinsa, but there was also the issue of adulteration, and that goes far beyond curcumin. But you were really out there, like really driving home this message on traceability, transparency. What is this thing called thought leadership? I mean, that's like bigger than just like your company. It's like the larger industry, right? And health for humanity, right?
the term moral compass, right? And I think a lot of your listeners will know that absolutely. Well, when you met me, when I was, I guess, 30 or at least certainly under 40, the whole moral compass, terminology, genre, I guess, if you will, I didn't get it. I didn't know what that was until you realize you stand for something that is so important to you that it can break down barriers and walls, and it can bring people together. And I think I give kudos to Sabinsa, honestly, for the stand that it took on many platforms, on many agendas, and it allowed me to be in sync with that and then go and voice that to the industry. And so I had a great platform to stand on and say, hey, we believe in this and it affects a lot of people. And that made it easy to have that conversation. I can tell you some of those conversations were not easy. Some people didn't want to hear about adulteration. No, I get it cheap. What are you talking about? It's adulterated. No, you're just throwing that out there because you want more of my money. Well, let me help explain what we're seeing. And then you take away from what you want from that. But yeah, so you got to have your moral compass on, right? You have to know where your ethics are. You have to know that you have a sense of integrity that's due to this industry. Honestly, it's due to this industry that allows you to be successful if you're on the right path here. And it has certainly allowed for me to do that. And I've been able to stand up for many of the things that I believe in and listen to great subject matter people, listen to a lot of the trade association leaders, listen to a lot of key company individuals that have a great thought process as well. And so, I was able to commingle in that. And I guess at some point they said, hey, yeah, we like what Shaheen says, or we don't like what Shaheen says, but we want to hear him. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, I always have appreciated, like, I've recognized your moral compass. Like, whenever we would hang out, you would always say, why don't you buy this round, Todd? Like, big of you.
That was my moral wallet, but okay.
But so let's talk about these professional values, and how did that align with this decision to say yes to BGG when they came knocking on your door?
Well, I wanted a company that I go to next be in line with my ethics, be in line with my thoughts, my beliefs. And they nailed it on so many levels. And I know that sounds probably cliche. It's okay, he found employment, so he's happy he's talking about it. No, they care very much about supply chain. They care very much about the integrity of their material, the quality, the assay, the R&D. The amount of R&D that they spend is quite incredible. The IP, I come from an IP world filled with patents and trademarks. They believe in that. They checked off all those boxes. And their leader, Mr. Lee, is also visionary in the sense that he's in tune with the marketplace to know that, hey, this is going to become a great product. Let's work on this. Let's establish a supply chain to get the customers what they need. He's not shy to have that conversation, and that's been amazing. And honestly, when you get a company like that checks off all the boxes, that makes it pretty compelling and pretty easy to say, this is where I want to be. So here's me.
Yeah, that's good. So your chair isn't even warm yet, the CEO chair at BGG. So I want to talk a little bit about the company that you're now heading up, and so but that gives you an out. Maybe you don't know everything about the company at this point, but if you talk to anyone in the industry these days, the first three things that anyone wants to talk about is supply chain. Are there things that you can see that you're going to have to face now? Because BGG, a company based in China, and so the slow boat from China line that's out there. Are there things that you're going to have to be dealing with on day one that you didn't have to 3 years ago, like pre-pandemic?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we already had a few customer calls, and I can tell you, you're exactly right. The first question you get after all the niceties about hi, hello, how's the weather is, where's your stuff? Is it in the sea? Is it in the air? What's going on? Is it being produced? Supply chain, honestly, Todd, going back a few years, that was never part of our conversation when you made a sales call, when even if it was, the best of, the person you knew at the other company or first time cold call, nobody ever asked you about supply chain, and that word got it got integral to how business is happening today. Yeah, absolutely. The first few phone calls I had with customers here at BGG, yeah, where's your product? When am I going to get it? If I am interested in your product. So it's not even the fact that they're going to buy it yet, but if I am interested, am I going to get it? And where is it? And so we go through the motions of that and we explain to them what the situation is. Are there going to be tough conversations? Should I say tougher conversations in the road ahead, in the months ahead? Absolutely. But I love the fact that BGG has been completely open, honest, and relatable in their communication, where we can take what they say from China and tell our customers. This is not always the case with every company because you just don't know what's going on overseas. But here I can tell you, last night, for example, I'm on the phone with China. That last night itself, I could email the customers and say, hey, here's my latest update. And so while that road is difficult because those conversations are difficult, I'm extremely excited and happy to relate the information that I have as quick as possible. And I think that's what matters. I think the fact that you can take communication effectively and quickly into the marketplace, number one, and two, be honest about it, be willing to share the ups and downs of that situation, and allowing the customer to also understand, hey, forecasting now on your end has become so much more important than ever before. And while that's the kind of the holy grail of trying to get things done with customers, forecasting is going to be ever so important.
Yeah. And, because there's always going to be unexpected things, my windows behind me, I bought new curtains for them last summer, and they're like, yeah, they'll be there in October. And then, oh yeah, they're going to be there in November. Oh, they're going to be there in January. And then I just checked in last week, April, and I'm like, oh God, so, but once you have this personal relationship built on, mutual trust, mutual understanding, mutual respect, which you've got in spades, that can only help, So I'm wondering, one of the supply chain things that you hear about, at least here in the States, is there's the great resignation, there's bottlenecks at ports, there's people driving, 18 wheelers that don't want to do that anymore. That last mile stuff, is that a problem in China as well as in the US?
This is a great question. And so as I'm being employed and getting more familiar with this company, the whole news is about everybody resigning and going away. I did pick up this topic with China and a great individual we have at the company based in Irvine, California. And they were saying, listen, it's not about the great resignation in China. It's about the very strict COVID policy that they have over there. And this has been picked up by other news outlets. So it's not something that we're just making up. But because of that strict COVID policy that they've had for more than 2 years now, there isn't, a shortage of labor by any means. There is enough people there to go work. The positions aren't available because of the strict COVID policy. They're not able to get back in and work as much as they would like. The Chinese economy, that's debatable whether it's weak or strong or whatnot. But the fact is, it is still pumping out products and materials. It's just the COVID policy, until that relaxes a little bit, we may not see the great suffering, I would say, come down. But if anything can happen great, I think as soon as the COVID turns around a little bit, we'll be in a much better place. But yeah, it's not the same that's happening in China that's happening here.
Interesting. So BGG, I've known about the company for a number of years through Bob Capelli and astaxanthin. That's sort of like the main ingredient, that I know them for. But they're a large company. They've got 100 plus ingredients, right? Sounds like more than Sabinsa had. Sabinsa had a pretty nice portfolio that included branded ingredients. Does BGG have any brandeds, or are they just on the commodity side?
That was another easy checkbox for me. They absolutely believe in branding. They believe in tying the branding to the IP, other IP, such as your clinical studies, your patents. And so that's been amazing. But yes, they have over 100 different ingredients, many into the berries. So they have berries, they have tocotrienols, they have a great apple extract, astaxanthin, of course. Bob wrote a book about it with Dr. Li Shin here at BGG. So that's been great. But yeah, quite a number of ingredients, but they do believe in branding. So I'm happy to see that.
Yeah. So give us your elevator pitch for the value of branded ingredients. Why should, if you're a supplement company, why do you want to get, a branded ingredient versus not? Because the branded ingredient is going to cost a little more. So what's the value?
You have a lot more ownership of a branded ingredient from the company that's vested into it, right? So BGG, who has a couple of different branded ingredients, they go after the supply chain a lot more strongly with those ingredients. They're going to make sure that they never run out of material on those ingredients. They're going to pump in more dollars for research. They're going to pump in more dollars for clinical research. So more R&D, more clinical research. Those are the things that consumers want to hear, they want to see. And so when you're maybe not to a contract manufacturer per se, but they're getting better at it, but certainly marketing companies that are looking at ingredients, they want those branded ingredient messages to come across. And those messages are just not there generically or with the commodity.
Yeah. So you're going to be the head of kind of the Americas or the Western Hemisphere. I don't know, whatever you're. So are you kind of the leader of relationships with U.S. supplement makers and marketers? I mean, I know you obviously have a whole team behind you, but how's that going to work?
Yeah. Sadly, it's me, man. So they're going to see this face. They're going to hear my voice. It's me. Canada, America, Latin America. I'm going to be out there and talk to people and just get them familiar with BGG, get the reach for BGG that it deserves. And I'm excited. I mean, there are some incredible products here, products that don't, compete with my old past. And so it's exciting, it's challenging, and I'm looking forward to that. All
right. And so you're back in Salt Lake now, right? So you're here on the mainland, as it were. So, if people want to reach out and call you, they don't have to worry about waking you up in the middle of the night. It's fine. Call Shaheen anytime, day or night. He's right here in the middle of America, kids, right?
That's absolutely right, Todd. I tell people CEO is a nice title. It's a great title, but it's still me. It's still Shaheen. So find me, text me, message me, LinkedIn me, call me, email me. It's Shaheen. You got me. I'm yours.
And I bet I think your son is probably pretty happy to be back in Salt Lake, right? He was over in India for a couple of years and happier in Salt Lake.
Yeah. My three boys were born in Utah. And so, I think they were kind of itching to get back here. And, listen, they love the seasons. They love the snow. I don't necessarily agree with the snow part, but okay, they love it. So, it makes it easier on the home front for sure. Yeah, we're loving it here.
That's good. That's great. Shaheen Majeed, CEO of BGG. Good to talk to you. We'll see you around the block, I'm sure. Congratulations on the new gig. Really
awesome. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, everybody.
Sustainable material.